If you have the chance to hire the best lawyer in the country to defend everything you built, but you refuse to pay the bill because you're convinced your son, who just started college, can win the case on his own, you don't get to cry when the judge hands down the verdict. And worst of all, you don't have a right to call that specialist lawyer from inside your prison cell and beg him to save you. He will laugh at your desperation and hang up the phone. Brian Cashman just made that exact phone call from inside his own tactical prison. And the humiliation was exposed in front of the entire baseball world by journalist Joel Sherman. With the Anthony Volpe project in complete ruins, freshly operated shoulder, an offensive profile that has never justified the hype, a hole in the infield that grows more expensive every week. The New York Yankees front office entered full panic mode. So what did they do? They picked up the phone and called the Texas Rangers, begging for a trade involving 3-time Silver Slugger and World Series MVP Corey Seager. Texas Rangers president Chris Young's response was a slap across the face that echoed from the Bronx all the way to Tokyo. We are not selling Corey Seager. Period. Today, we're cutting open the anatomy of this corporate incompetence certificate. Why the Anthony Volpe collapse exposed the deepest wound in the Yankees' roster construction. How baseball's fast karma collected the toll on years of front office stubbornness. And what it means for a franchise when its general manager is visibly crawling through the market trying to repair damage he personally created. Before we open the transcript of this humiliation, I'm putting the team president's stamp in your hand. Do you forgive Brian Cashman for this public embarrassment, accepting the argument that he was simply exploring options in an emergency? Or do you consider it unforgivable that the front office let elite talent walk freely in the past and is now reduced to begging for impossible trades while the season bleeds on the medical table? Think like a billionaire with zero patience for excuses, because remorse does not hit home runs. Let's walk into the scene of this public relations collision. The Aaron Judge championship window demands perfection at every position, and shortstop is not a corner outfield spot you can hide a developmental player. It is the heart of the defense, the centerpiece of your infield alignment, the position that touches more plays than any other on the field. Anthony Volpe carries the label of top prospect. He does not carry the production to match it. His bat has never arrived at the level the organization projected. And now the shoulder surgery removes even the theoretical comfort of he'll figure out this spring. He's not figuring anything out. He's in a sling. So the Yankees looked at the hole in the hull and tried the wildest car available, packaging prospects and calling Texas to ask about Corey Seager, a player making over $300 million, one of the most lethal left-handed hitters in the sport, a shortstop who would have transformed the Yankee Stadium lineup into a video game cheat code. Left-handed swing, that short porch in right field, hitting in front of or behind Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. The offensive fit was almost criminally perfect on paper. The problem is the Texas Rangers are not a desperate franchise. They are not a small market team liquidating assets to survive. They have money. They have organizational stability. And they have a franchise cornerstone they built their competitive identity around. Chris Young didn't need 30 seconds to think about it. He batted the call away like a routine ground ball and went back to his afternoon. The Yankees were left standing in the hallway, empty hands. Jose Caballero penciled in as the starting shortstop on a roster built to win the World Series. And this is exactly where the market's instant justice kicks the door off its hinges and walks straight into Cashman's office. Go back in time. Not far, just a few years. Corey Seager was a free agent, available, no prospect cost, no trade package required, no negotiation with another team's front office, just a contract, a pen, and the organizational will to spend money on a generational shortstop at the peak of his market value. What did the New York Yankees do? They crossed their arms and said no. Cashman's reasoning was presented as financial wisdom. We have Anthony Volpe coming. He will be ours for 6 years at rookie scale. We don't need to pay Seager market rate when we have the answer already in the system. That logic had one fatal flaw. It assumed Volpe would become what the organization believed he would become. It assumed development follows projection. It assumed the future arrives on the schedule you draw up in the scouting department. Baseball does not operate on scheduled deliveries. Volpe didn't become the answer. His OPS never justified the decision. His shoulder gave out. And the franchise that passed on Seager for free is now calling his current team and offering pay with blue-chip prospects, only to get rejected in the most public, most embarrassing way possible. The arrogance of yesterday's economics wrote the check for today's humiliation. That is the karma. That is the punishment. And it arrived with perfect, ruthless timing. The same general manager who said, "We don't need Seager," had to call the team that is Seager, begged to acquire him at a far greater cost than his original free agent price, and then absorb a flat rejection that every reporter in the sport immediately published. You cannot write a more complete circle of consequence than that. Now, let's talk about what actually remains in the Yankees' toolkit, because the Seager door is closed and the season will not wait. The internal options are not inspiring. Jose Caballero is a professional baseball player. He is not a solution on a team with World Series aspirations. His bat does not scare opposing pitchers. His presence in the lineup against quality starting pitching is a vulnerability that advanced scouting staffs will target relentlessly from April onward. The external market still exists, but it exists on less favorable terms than it did 3 months ago. Every team with a tradable shortstop already knows the Yankees are shopping. The Seager call was not kept secret. Joel Sherman published it. When your desperation becomes public record, the asking price across every negotiation you enter goes up. Other GMs are not going to offer you sympathy pricing. The Volpe recovery timeline is the one remaining variable that introduces any optimism. If the surgery went cleanly, if the rehabilitation progresses ahead of schedule, if he returns in May or June with the shoulder fully functional, you still have a player with legitimate athleticism and defensive capability who might rediscover offensive consistency once the physical issue is resolved. That is not a championship plan. It is a holding strategy. But it is the most realistic path available given the market the Yankees currently inhabit. The brutal truth underneath all of this is organizational and structural. The Yankees are experiencing compounded consequences of multiple offseason decisions that each seem justifiable in isolation but combine into a cascade of vulnerability. The Seager pass, the Volpe commitment, the quiet offseason, the Judge revolt, the Bellinger contract signed from panic, and now a rejected phone call that became national news. Each decision connected to the next. Each consequence made the following one more expensive. This is how front office failures actually accumulate in professional sports, not in one dramatic moment, but in a sequence of smaller miscalculations that eventually produce a moment of undeniable public embarrassment. The phone call to Texas was that moment, so the trap is in your hands right now. The infield hole is real, and the Seager door is locked. Do you authorize Cashman to keep calling around the league, pursuing emergency alternatives, and accepting that the cost of every conversation is inflated by public desperation? Or do you accept the market defeat? Stabilize what you have, focus on the pitching and the lineup pieces that are healthy and functional, and genuinely trust that Volpe's return before summer changes the calculus enough to compete? Drop your verdict in the comments. Keep making calls. Find a solution at any price. Or accept the loss. Build around what we have. The Bronx demands respect and predictability, not midnight panic calls that end up on the back page of every newspaper in the country. And don't blink. While we're trying to defuse the frustration in New York, a corporate guillotine just dropped inside the NFL's East Division overnight. The Miami Dolphins GM has reportedly issued a violent and humiliating ultimatum to push his own quarterback out the door following a locker room scandal. Who that quarterback is and what it means for the AFC landscape, that story drops in the next video. Stay locked in.